This is Dr. Mike, host of the free iTunes podcast, Psychiatric Secrets Revealed with Dr. Mike. But that's not why I'm here today. This is another Saving Savvy episode, this time looking at choosing the best phone plan for you. Incredibly complicated topic. I've been trying to do this for myself in the last month or two, and it's just kind of a little bit of a nightmare. So let me pass on some information to you so maybe your experience will be a little easier. The first thing I can tell you is that there's not one plan for everyone. So you really need to figure out what your needs are, and then you need to see if a particular plan not only meets those needs, but also offers good coverage in your area. So stop this tape for a moment and get a pencil and paper and come on back and we'll ask you some questions. Okay, I'm assuming you're back, and I'd like to just ask you these questions and jot down the answers. Do you like talking on the phone, or is it a necessary evil? Do you use your phone every day? If you do make calls every day or frequently, do you make many calls or just a few calls? Do you make long calls or short calls? Do you text message a lot? Do you use your phone mostly in your local area, or do you use it a lot when you travel? And if you travel, do you travel mostly to major cities because they'll have lots of good coverage, or do you travel to more rural areas where you have to be a little more careful about which plan you choose? Do you use a mobile broadband connection? In other words, are you on the internet? And if so, how necessary is that for you? Are you looking up things that are just very low data loads, like maybe looking up the temperature? Or how about things that use a lot of data, like maybe downloading a YouTube video? More data, you'll need a bigger plan. And are you willing to change your behavior if it means saving a lot of money? Let's look at the three basic types of plans that are out there. And there's some intermingling between the three. The first one is the standard contract plan. With these types of plans, you usually sign a contract, typically for 2 years. And every month you have to pay whether you want to or not. It's typically quite expensive to break that contract, and in fact, if you have a family plan, let's say you have 4 phones on that family plan, each one of those is a separate contract, and you have to pay a fee for each phone that you would cancel if you got rid of that plan. Typically, these plans will offer you the fanciest phones and the richest service as far as roaming or extra services. All those sorts of things are kind of at the top level with the contract plan. And between providers, let's say Sprint versus AT&T, there's often little perks that they'll give you. So one plan might say they'll give you free calls after 7. Another one might say, well, we'll let you call your favorite 5 numbers for free and that sort of thing. So you have to kind of check things out. Contract plans are wonderful, but the worst thing about them is they have a contract. The other plan that's out there is a no contract plan, and these seem to be around as far as all the major providers have them. There's lots of other plans out there. I think of like Cricket and Smart Talk and other plans. And basically these run like a contract plan without the contract. So you're obligated to buy monthly a certain amount of money, or actually buy a card or something every month. And with that card you'll get so many minutes or so many text messages and maybe sometimes so much data. These plans can be great because you're not tied into a contract, and they usually will cost you less overall, but not always, than a contract phone. But the phone choices will be more limited. You'll definitely be able to get a smartphone, but not the top-of-the-line smartphone. You'll definitely be able to get a lot of feature phones, but maybe not the exact one that you want. And you will pay more for these phones because you're paying more of that money up front. But again, you don't have to cancel the contract. The third plan out there is a pay-as-you-go plan. These have been around for a long time. Pay-as-you-go plans, you basically buy a bucket of minutes. Depending on how big that bucket is, depends on how cheap the cost per minute is and how long the bucket lasts. So you buy a little bucket, it might last just for a month, and it might be 40 cents, 50 cents a minute. You buy a bigger bucket, it might be 10 cents a minute, and it lasts for 90 days. It varies from plan to plan, so you have to really kind of check that out. There's a lot of different carriers for these plans. They tend to offer the most basic phones, again, fine for texting and for phone calls, but not a lot of extra features. And typically, if you keep your buckets active, in other words, you renew before the bucket runs out, you get to roll over your old minutes into your new minutes, and that can be a real savings. These plans tend to be pretty good for people that use just small amounts of minutes per month, but they need a phone. Okay, so with that, let's look at some other just truths. One of the truths is that these websites are very confusing, especially when it comes to actual the plans available, but typically the most prominent plan listed is the one that the phone company wants you to use, but it may not be the one that's best for you. So definitely you're going to want to spend some time looking at the other little plans that are kind of hidden in the website. I thought I would share some of my personal experience with you. This is not any kind of a recommendation. It's just some of my own experience. Maybe you'll find it useful. I've had a cell phone now since the mid-'80s. I've used every major carrier out there. I can't recommend one above the other, but I've kept a contract plan because I use my phone for not only pleasure but also for business, and I absolutely need the most reliable, widest coverage possible. But some of these contract plans are getting pretty good, and if you want to know about my one experience with Cricket, there's a whole video on that. You can just look for it. My wife, however, hates to use the phone, and when she does use the phone, it's usually a 1 or 2 minute comment like, "I'm going through the drive-thru, what do you want?" So she has used for many years a Payasyougo plan from Virgin Mobile. That particular plan requires that she tops up every 3 months with at least $20. So every 3 months she has to throw $20 into the bin. The cost per minute is quite high, but since she doesn't use even her $20 every 3 months, the total overall cost for a cell phone for her for a year is $80. That's pretty amazing. As another plan, I have a couple nieces that are stay-at-home moms. They use the Tracfone system, which they recommend. They like the fact that Tracfone tells you exactly how many minutes you have left and when you have to re-up. They would suggest that if you use Tracfone, to buy a phone that has double minutes for life, because you get twice as many minutes that way, and also to re-up using the option on the web as opposed to going to the store, because there's always like special deals on the website. I don't know anyone who uses the AT&T Go phone, but I did research it quite a bit. I just mentioned it for one important reason, or a couple important reasons. If you use the AT&T Go phone, what you may find is that the cost is really quite expensive. There was one plan that had 2 minutes a day for unlimited talk and text, but if you use the phone every day, that's $60 in a month. Plus, that doesn't include a very expensive data charge. If you use a lot of data, that could be another $30, $40 a month added onto it. So your very cheap Go phone now becomes a very expensive plan. In addition, like other sites, their Go plan has less coverage than their contract plan. So you have less coverage and it might cost you more or maybe just as much. So look at those very carefully. I've talked to a lot of friends that are a little bit struggling during this time, and they've told me that Boost is the plan that they use because they think it's the lowest cost plan. I checked the website. I think it is very low in cost. However, I think it depends on the individual, and you may find that other plans meet your needs more or maybe are even more cost effective. And the last plan that I want to mention is our last provider is a company called Consumer Cellular, which I kind of stumbled on by accident. Consumer Cellular is a provider that caters to the elderly, but they are very happy to have anyone's business. But because they cater to that population, they really go out of their way to be extremely user-friendly. So their website really does make sense. The plans all make sense. There's no hidden gobbledygook. I think they do subsidize their phones, even though there are no contract plans, so their phone costs are very low. They have US-based customer support, nothing like talking to someone that you can understand and they can understand you. And their prices are pretty reasonable. Do they have any shortcomings? Well, they only offer regular phones and feature phones, no smartphones, and because of that, their data plans are fairly small, which would be fine for a feature phone, but not so much for a smartphone. So there's my little bit of advice on choosing a phone plan. I hope you found it helpful, and give my podcast a listen if you have some free time. Thanks so much, and have a great day.